I'm Adam Glenister, VIP account manager here at Freight 365. I'm joined by...
I'm Terry Blaze, Managing Director.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about a problem that you may encounter in the market, more specifically around pricing and agreed prices that you may have received from a freight forwarder, a haulier, anyone like that, and the sort of ways you can deal with it, ways to solve it, actions and steps to take to make sure your problem is solved. So Terry, let's just say, for example, we've got a quote from another forwarder
Or a shipping line.
Another logistics company. You get given a quote that wins the business from you. You place the order with that company, and then at various points, or even right at the end, your final invoice amount is different.
Okay.
What could be some of the reasons as to why one price at the start is different at the end?
In all honesty, there's quite a lot of things that can change. But if you're talking about the cargo spec didn't change, your requested service didn't change, so more volume wasn't added or less volume, you didn't want a faster service over the economy service that you booked. If we say the service booked was exactly the same as you quoted, some of the things that you can see, one in particular, actually, I've seen quite a lot over the years, is using a preferential rate of exchange to make the quote look cheaper. That would happen because with international freight, we deal a lot in US dollars. We deal, other currencies as well, but mainly US dollars in terms of freight.
Yeah.
You can use a higher rate of exchange to reduce the conversion on, say, your freight cost.
Yeah.
By changing it only by a couple of points, it can make a real big difference. You might not notice it so much at maybe 150, 200 kilos, if we were talking air freight, for example. But if you ship 8 ton, a couple of points on the rate of exchange can really make a difference, and it can really change the way that the final value is calculated. So it's one to be aware of. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more in solutions in a bit.
Another one another cause that I believe, which links very nicely into your point, which is maybe a tactic that is potentially used by other forwarders, which is playing with that rate of exchange amongst other things to give a low price in such a competitive market to so dangle the carrot, if you will, so that they seem like the better price amongst many other options.
Yeah.
Because at that point then, if they're the cheapest, you book your freight with them, it's already in motion at that point.
Yeah,
then, you're sort of at the mercy then of any potential company that may want to add these prices on that.
Yeah, of course. And, I've seen it again on quotes. You might have a freight line, but somewhere down in the terms and conditions are some surcharges that they'll add. Yeah. Things like the transit disruption surcharge, which we've seen recently. You've got PSS, peak season surcharge. You've got the old BAF, the CAF. These things may not be included in your quote, but they may be included in the small print. As well as underquoting a freight charge, which is, one of those things that you've seen.
Oh.
People can also be using outdated tariffs. If you don't have a real market rate at the time of quoting, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And as you say, once the container's loaded, once the cargo's collected, once it starts moving, you're then at the mercy of somebody to make a decision and really make a recovery option or a recovery situation regarding the rate.
And I suppose also to note is it could just be a genuine mistake.
Of course, we all make them.
The operator may just have those charges that you talk about that may genuinely have been purposely hidden, could also have been genuinely missed off.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have not put in these charges, so again, that price does look attractive. And if they feel like they've missed it, they push out a quote to you. They may not even know themselves that they've offered you a very competitive, or what looks like a very competitive rate. So you've gone, they just feel, we've won the business, let's go ahead with it.
Yeah, but I kind of get that. And yes, you do have to accept the genuine mistake. But personally, my feeling is that you should be checking the quote before you send it out, really. Make sure that you've done your due diligence. Make sure you've checked origin, destination. Make sure you as a forwarder understand the quote.
Yeah.
If you understand the quote, then really mistakes should be minimal.
Yeah, I agree. Right, so Terry, let's talk about some of the solutions about how to negate running into this problem. First off, with regards to the rate of exchange, what can we do to sort of combat that be an issue with an agreed price on a shipment?
Okay, it's actually quite an easy one to check. First of all, understand what rate of exchange you've got on the quote. You can then go on to any Forex or currency exchange website. I would suggest you use one of the major ones. I think we used Capitex and XE.
Yep.
You can see what today's live market rate is. Compare that against what you've got on the quote. Okay. Then what you should do, or really good question to ask whoever gave you the quote, is when will that rate of exchange be applied to my final invoice?
Departure, arrival.
Yeah, lots of people
do
do something different. But if you can get them to confirm it will be set on the departure of the vessel or set on the departure of the flight, or it's going to be set when it arrives at destination, you will have some kind of marker to determine where the market was at the time that rate was applied.
You've got that checkpoint to make sure.
Yeah, it's just about protecting yourself, really, trying to arm yourself with enough information so that you don't get the wool pulled over your eyes.
Yeah,
one thing just quickly to mention on that, I know the rate of exchange you see online is the market rate. Be aware that if you're not moving huge values of money, that you don't always get that live market rate. So it could change by a couple of pips. It could be one of those things. I mean, something else we discussed was, giving you a low rate to attract your business. How would you suggest people protect themselves?
The best thing to do, the most important thing to do, is check your quote. Check the small print, check the terms and conditions. Have a trusted forwarder that you can genuinely ask and say, is the price I'm paying here, is it valid for the duration of how long it's going to take my shipment to ship, or when my shipment is going to ship? Ask them, barring any sort of unforeseen circumstances, any natural disasters, the price that you're quoting me, is that the price I'm going to pay, or is there any hidden charges? And a trusted forwarder will give you all of those prices. They will be upfront and honest about the quote that they're giving you.
Yeah, they should be, and that should be part of the partnership that you have with them, that perhaps you've developed over years, or perhaps it's a new relationship to you. If you've got a question, ask it. Don't just blindly accept something and just assume everything's going to be okay. Ask a question. If you can't get an answer to your question,
something might be a bit fishy there.
Yeah, exactly right. One of the other things you can do, I think, as well, is compare the rate. Speak to other freight forwarders. See what else you're getting in the market. If the rate you've got on your desk is, for example, $2,000 less than everybody else, that may indicate
that something's not quite right.
It's an outdated tariff. It's a service no longer used. It's fully booked. It's genuinely not available.
Well, don't they say in normal, when you're getting quotes, I don't know, say you're having work done on your house, a plumber, an electrician, they say you normally get 3 quotes, and you go for the middle one, or go for sort of the average, so you haven't got someone that's trying to steal your business with a low rate, and you haven't got someone that's trying to overcharge you. You're going in the middle, roughly you're in the right ballpark.
Yeah, that's a really good rule of thumb, to be fair. Cheap, not always the best. Be aware, if you're going cheap, service could
suffer a little bit, maybe.
Could suffer, as well as if you're going high. Yeah, you might be being overcharged, but you should receive top level service for a top rate you would expect.
Yeah. And one last thing to move on to is, you're the boss here. What happens if
sometimes?
Yeah. What happens if say, for example, I've quoted, and the invoice that goes out would need to be, to avoid losing out as a business, is higher than what has been quoted. What happens in that instance here at Freight 365?
You know that, mate.
Well, yeah, we do.
You honour the quote.
Yeah.
If something has happened and it's our fault, if we've messed up, if we haven't included a service that was needed, but it was quite clear at the initial quote stage that's what the customer wanted, you honour it.
Yeah. That's the way we build partnerships and trust within our customers.
And that's what it's about. At the end of the day, we're a partnership to an importer, and an exporter. If you're moving cargo, we're moving cargo. If you're having problems, we're having problems. And you really just want to avoid that. You know, we're in it together. We are a team. We see ourselves as partners. If you're not doing business like that, then in my opinion,
you're not doing business.
Yeah, exactly right.
Exactly.